channel, Becky's Allotment. Now today we're in the net polytunnel. It's all completed, so I gave it a quick dig over and weed, but there's still a few weeds in that I'll remove as I'm going along. So I did sew up these holes, but those were quite large holes, so I'm thinking of putting silicone on the outside just to make sure that nothing can possibly get in. So fingers crossed that should keep the butterflies out. And one of the other things that you'll notice that I've done in the tunnel is build up around the edges of the polytunnel so that build up the soil so that nothing can get in around the underneath. So hopefully, don't think they can dig, but they shouldn't be able to get in at all underneath. The only thing I am worried about is the door frame, but we're going to try and do something with that. But today I am going to be planting some of these kale plants in the polytunnel, well, the net tunnel, and I finished the roof as well. So hopefully that should keep these cabbage whites out. Fingers crossed, we'll see. But I've got a much better chance with this around it than anything else, and I am going to pull those weeds out later. Right, so it's not everything, but I think this tunnel's getting a bit full, so I'm going to plant what I've got here. I think I've got a little bit of everything, and then we'll see how everything fits in, see if I can squeeze a few more in. But I have got some more netting just in case I have to do something outside as well. But ideally I want the sprouts in here, so there's some sprouts across the back because they're going to grow taller. Then we've got the kale here and over this side. So I'll start with the kale over here and I'll show you what I'm doing. So I have my water, my trowel, so I can dig out some of those weeds as I'm going along, grow more, got my gloves on, and then we've got the plants. But what I did yesterday when I dug out all the weeds, then walked everything down, then watered it, then walked everything down again, I actually put some, I'm not using lime, so I'm going to be using seaweed, calcified seaweed. So that's been spread all over here, and it should be the perfect thing for brassicas. So it acts like lime, but you can put manure on it as well, but I haven't. This bed was actually manured last year for the potatoes, so there should be some goodness in the soil. So let's get planting this first one. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is dig a hole big enough to fit the whole pot in. Obviously I will be taking it out of the pot, but it will need to have the soil that it's grown in. I want to take out as much of the plant and the soil out of the pot as possible. Now, I thought I'd give this a quick weed while I was going through. I did most of the weeding yesterday, but there's always a few bits left over and I get fed up with picking them up, so I usually weed twice because yeah, I hate weeding. It is really annoying for me. I cannot stand doing it. So let's dig this hole for the brassica. So I'll try and keep as many of the weeds out as possible. And this was, I did grow potatoes in this last year, so the soil is loose-ish underneath, and I have walked it over because brassicas do like firmed soil, but not too compacted so that it would stop their roots from growing. But that fits in nicely. I'm just going to sprinkle some grow more in there, give that a quick dig around so it's not in just one big pile. Loosen the soil up a bit there to get the grow more spread evenly along the bottom. And I'm going to squeeze the pot to try and get the, I think this is a curly kale plant, out, and hopefully it'll come out as one, but we shall see. Now you can't see this perfectly, and there we go. Got most of the root ball out, so carefully plant that into the hole. Now you can water into the hole first, which I did do on the later brassicas because it was a particularly warm day. Now try not to get any weeds in there. Yep, that's it, take them out. No weeds, don't want any in there. And then you want to firm down the soil as tight as possible and make sure that the kale is firmed in. Add a bit more soil over the top, pop in your label, job done. Now we're just going to give this a quick water, make sure it does get plenty, just because it was a very hot day and it was obviously going to dry out very quickly in there. I was surprised actually at how much the net offered a lot of shade, so it kept the plants cooler and the water on the ground a lot more. So I'm just going to show you again so that you can hopefully see. So we're going to dig the hole for the brassica. As you can see, the soil is firm but not compacted, so there is a bit of clay in there. I am working with clay soil, but the potatoes were grown in there, which loosened it up last year, so it can get a bit dry and compacted in the summer, but I won't be walking on it, just the middle part. So that's the grow more going in, just because I'm worried there wasn't enough manure last year for the potatoes. I don't know, I just worry too much, so at least they've got something to get them going. But kale is really easy to grow, so it'll grow anywhere really. Now that was a bit too deep, so didn't actually get all the root ball out of that, so I'm just gonna cover that in and try and get rid of that weed. Fail, get it later. So we just want to get the soil back around the kale plant, which is a brassica, and then firm it in nicely. Get rid of that weed, chuck it outside, and there we go. That's how I plant my brassicas, all of them. They're all pretty much the same, and yep, just making sure there's plenty of soil around it. They're slightly deeper than they were in the pot, not too much though, and they seem quite happy in there. So right, so that's most of the tunnel done now. I watered them all again, and they seem to be perking up a bit after being transplanted. I haven't planted anything by here because I'm going to plant a few broccoli, I think. So I've got some spinach there, not that much, some Nero kale, that is a red Brussels sprout, and that, see how they do. The actual Brussels sprouts that I want to put out at the back here, they're not ready yet, and in front of them is going to be these two red cabbages. And then we've got a couple of flower sprouts there, and then all this side is kale. So we've got the green curly kale, which my mum and dad told me to plant loads of, and I've still got loads of plants. Then I've got the red curly kale, so I wanted to see what that was like. And at the front of these I think I'm going to plant some radish and lettuce, and then dotted in between I think I'll do some leeks when they're ready, just because the leek moth tends to get them on this plot. So yeah, hopefully the smell of the leek should keep the cabbage root fly away. I don't know, might have to plant some other stuff as well. But the tunnel's nearly done now. I just have to weed outside and plant some lettuce where it's got a nice bit of shade there. But yep, it's coming along nicely, so I'm pleased with that. Just have to pot on the sprouts. I have far too many, but I'll give some away, I think. And I can bring them right down because I don't need to get at the back till a lot later on. And the kale will just keep going and going till next year, along with the sprouts. The only thing I want to get close to is the spinach and kale, so I can have a little path here at the front. Just plant away at the back with the cabbage and sprouts. So that's it, all finished. Well, the structure is, the planting isn't. I'll show you more when I plant the sprouts out. So this is what I've got left over in the cold frame. The asparagus peas and the petit pois can go out tomorrow because I am absolutely boiling, and we've still got some kale. I'll just water these, so hopefully they should cheer up a bit. And I've taken the lid off because the ants seem to be loving it in there, and they're making their homes in the pots. So I think I'll sprinkle some cinnamon or chili down. I can't remember which one they like. I'll have a look later. But yeah, still lots. I will keep some because if I lose a couple, they'll replace them in the tunnel. I have also got another net which is quite tall, which I might put somewhere to try and control the cabbage whites, so some of these things can go under there. Should be tall enough for sprouts as well, so I should have plenty. What I'm thinking is I'll move the pots over right up against there, dig them into the soil, the pots. So I'll dig a hole, put the pot in, and put the net cover over, and then I should have all this space as well, because this bit is just being wasted. And I just tend to chuck my used compost on there, so yeah, it's probably quite good soil. And that's it. It's an absolutely boiling day on the allotment. Everything's looking good. Weedy, but good. And the flowers are coming along nicely. Love those pear tree flowers.